Good evening and welcome to the October 12th regularly scheduled meeting of the Glendale Commission on the Status of Women. Ms. Baboumian, may we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Katafian, Commissioner Lamel, Vice Chair Manasarian,
Here.
Commissioner Malakian, Commissioner Marcotte, Commissioner Pillsbury,
Here.
Commissioner Sobey,
Here.
Commissioner Walker, Chair Devine.
Here. Next item, please.
At 1A, we have the report regarding the posting of the agenda. The agenda for the October 12, 2009 meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside of City Hall on or before October 9, 2009.
Thank you. Next item.
At 2A, we have Wanda Wheeler from Glendale Memorial Hospital here to talk about breast cancer awareness. Ms. Wheeler is the Chief Technologist and Marcia Ray Breast Cancer Managing Supervisor at the hospital. She is also a certified breast self-examination trainer as well as a member of the National Consortium of Breast Centers.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak today. As she said, I'm Wanda, and I'm from Glendale Memorial Hospital. And our topic today is early detection and facts and benefits. Start our video. 1 of 8. While you watch this 3-minute video, another woman will be diagnosed with invasive breast cancer. Who is she? Is she learning to take risks? Does she care for the elderly? Does she fly an airplane? Is she an information tech? Or maybe a doctor? Or has she never been sick a day in her life? Is she going overseas? Does she play the sax? What we know is she's not just a statistic. But of every 8 women, 1 will get breast cancer in her lifetime. Who is she? Who loves her? No woman is safe from breast cancer. The risk increases with age. But many young women get breast cancer too. Having a close relative with breast cancer doubles your risk. But there's hope. Breast cancer death rates are going down due to modern medicine. Technology keeps on advancing. Over 90% can survive. And here are our survivors. 1 year. 2 years. 3 years. 4 years. 6 years. 7 years. And over 25 years. This is a mammogram. Mammograms save lives. Get one and ask someone you love to get one. Life's a beautiful thing. Let's keep it. Well, we are from the Marcia Ray Breast Center, and we've had over 24 years of service to the city of Glendale. Just to give you an overview of who the Marcia Ray Breast Center is, we're a full-service breast care facility. We offer high-quality screening and diagnostic services. We're accredited by the American American College of Radiology, and we are certified by the Federal Drug Administration. We've been designated as a breast imaging center of excellence by the American by the American College of Radiology. You know, one of the questions. This forward. One of the questions that I get a lot is just exactly what is breast cancer? Well, the answer is that it's a malignant growth in the breast tissue. Now, it starts out as a cell that's lost its primary function, and then it begins to multiply uncontrollably. They begin to crowd out the normal cells and take over. Now, because they're sort of a blank, so they don't really have a function. They don't stick well together. They break off and they travel down your circulatory system and implant themselves in other parts of the body, and that's what's called metastasis. Being a woman of our increasing age is the absolute risk factor. Those two things, being a woman and increasing age. Also, over 70% of breast cancers occur in women with no family history or other risk factor. So that means that if you have 10 women in one room that have breast cancer, only 3 would have a family history or any other risk factor. We can reduce our risk, though, and that's by regular exercise. There are many dietary recommendations that would reduce the incidence of breast cancer, and that includes a low-fat, high-fiber diet and eating 5 to 9 fruits and vegetables a day. We want to manage our body weight. We want to reduce our stress and have a healthy lifestyle. Now, this is our triad of early detection. Starts out with your clinical breast exam, self-breast exam, and a mammogram. To talk about clinical breast exam, that's when your doctor examines you. It's done annually. It's done and includes taking your health history. The doctor will take a visual inspection of your breast and also a breast tissue exam, and then he'll document. The next is a self-breast exam, and at the end of this, we'll do a demonstration of how to do a breast self-exam. We'll move on to the next slide. The mammogram guidelines are an annual or biannual mammogram from ages 40 to 49. And at age 50 or older, you want to have an annual mammogram. If you had a close relative that had breast cancer at a young age, then you will start your screening at a much younger age, usually about 10 years younger than your relative. So if your relative had breast cancer at 35, then you would start mammograms at 25. There are 4 of every 10 women that do not get their annual mammogram. We all know women in our circle of friends and relatives, and it might even be ourselves that are afraid to face their mammograms. So I can attempt to send this message to women through this presentation, but I'd like to charge each and every one of you to be effective messengers to the women in your life. Tell them that what you've learned today, and encourage them to seek out their mammograms, because mammograms save lives. What I'd like to do now is bring up Marianne Robertson. She's our model for today, and we're going to show you exactly how to do a breast self-exam. First of all, you should start about age 20 and do it monthly. Now, your breast tissue, I'm going to come around here and come Marianne over here so I can get to this side. Breast tissue starts up at your collarbone, so feel for your collarbone up here. and at the bottom at your bra line. It also starts from the mid-chest line all the way to your side, middle of your side here. So this is where your breast tissue is. There are several different ways to do your self-exam. Marianne will show you. You can do it in a circular pattern. You can do it a back and forth pattern. And you can go up and down, whichever one is most comfortable for you. When you palpate, you're going to press lightly on the chest, and then you'll chest a little deeper, and then even deeper. And you're going to use whichever pattern is most comfortable for you. Also, once you do that, you're going to look in the mirror, and you're going to put your hands up high, and you're going to look and see if you see any dimpling, any changes in your breast, any unusual spots. Then you'll put your hands on your hips, looking in the mirror, and do the same thing again, because you want to see it as it changes. And then the next thing you'll do is bend over and see if there's any changes when they move. And that way you can find any problems that you may have. And I think that's about it. You have any questions?
Any comments from the commission?
Any questions?
Commissioner Katafian?
I'm sorry. When you're doing the actual palpation, touching, it's best to be lying down.
Lying down.
But when after you finish that, then you want to stand up and look in the mirror.
I remember a time that there was a certain time of month that you should do it. Or has that changed?
Actually, you should do it the same time of month. If you're menstruating, it's best to try to do it the middle of your cycle, not too close to your period, not too far, not too close on either side. If you are no longer menstruating, then you want to pick a day of the month and try to stick to the same day every month. Any other
We'll get the paperwork done.
Any other questions?
I think not. The video was quite powerful. Thank you for bringing that. It was
Thank you.
It was really great to see, and very powerful message. I know that what you say is so true about women not wanting to go and get a mammogram and making excuses. I'm too busy. The kids need me. I have to go here. That sort of thing. Where do I go? I don't have time. And it's so very, very important to do this once a year. That's all it takes. Correct?
Exactly.
And now is the time for the ladies out there to call your doctors, call the local hospital. Some of them have programs, don't they? Right
Exactly.
now, Wanda, that are offering mammograms to women.
We have a program with the Coleman Foundation for women who are under 40. And there are a lot of programs out there. There's the Every Woman Counts program that take care of women who are low income, and the Coleman program takes care of women who are low income and under 40. So usually you can call any mammography center, ours included, and be able to find out that type of information.
Right. And Wanda's at Glendale Memorial
We're at Glendale
in case you
Memorial.
missed that. I also found this in my my folder. The Armenian American Medical Society of California Ladies Auxiliary. They offer free mammograms, and all you have to do is get an application for a free screening mammogram, and if you need information about this, you can contact Christine Baboumian, our staff administrator, women that are out there, and see if you're eligible and get an application for a free mammogram.
Yes, and you can bring that to Glendale Memorial Hospital.
Oh, is that right?
Yes,
you
you
just
can,
bring
to the Marsha Ray Breast Center, yes.
Fabulous. Great. Then there's no excuses there.
No excuse whatsoever.
And the best prevention is?
Early detection.
Early detection. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Wanda, very much. The next item, Ms. Boomian.
At 2B, we have Sarah Rondon and Heather Poole from the Los Angeles County Bar Association to talk about the Domestic Violence Project. Ms. Rondon is here to discuss domestic violence and how this project assists victims, and Ms. Poole will talk about, about, immigration issues pertaining to domestic violence.
Hi, thank you. I am Sarah Rondon with the LA County Bar Association Domestic Violence Project. We are located in the downtown Los Angeles courthouse, most importantly, though, in the Pasadena courthouse, which is the closest local courthouse to your community here that would be able to assist victims of domestic violence with their legal needs. We're one of the oldest domestic violence. I don't want to say the oldest because there's always somebody else that says, no, we were there first, but we are one of the oldest. Last year, we saw approximately 7,000 people in the county of Los Angeles in our 2 clinics. They were coming to ask about domestic violence because there were no domestic violence situation for various reasons. Most importantly, they were coming to us for legal help in their restraining orders. Because we see so many people, we depend on our volunteers. At this time right now, we have approximately 150 volunteers that give some time every month that come in and assist the victims of violence. They are attorneys, law students, paralegals, college students, people from the community that have that urge and desire to come in and help the victims of domestic violence. The victims that we see, women, men, children, elderly, all walks of life. It is one of those things that crosses all barriers, all racial lines, all economic barriers. There is no one particular group that we see. In the 15 years that I've been doing it, I think that I've seen it all, and then tomorrow I'm going to walk in and there'll be something there that I haven't seen or heard before. It's pretty amazing what is happening out there and what we can do to help them. Victims are coming into the courthouse and they don't know what to do. Something traumatic has just happened to them, and either they're sent to us by the local police department, a hospital worker, a social worker, teenagers are sent in by teachers or counselors, and they really don't know what to do. And then, as many people here have walked into a courthouse, it is an overwhelming experience to walk into a courthouse, especially if you happen to be walking in there at 8:30 a.m. You're talking thousands of people, hundreds of people maybe here in Pasadena trying to get into that courthouse for various things that are going on. And you're talking to someone that's already traumatized, that may have her 2 or 3 children with her, and they're trying to find one little clinic in this mass building. So we are there to help them. Somehow they manage to find the way into the clinic. A volunteer will sit them down in a little cubicle, or in Pasadena, we're very fortunate that we have a little bit of office space that they gave to us. And we talk to them, find out what's going on, make sure that we can help them, walk them through the entire procedure. Procedure for a restraining order, I always bring it with me because people are shocked. This is what's needed to get a restraining order. And it's in English, which, as we know, here in Los Angeles County, there's a lot of people that don't speak English, or English may not be their first language, and now you're going to ask them to fill out legal forms. So that's what we do for them. We will fill out the forms for them, walk them through the whole procedure, get them ready to go up before a judge, because how intimidating is that to have someone have to go up, in a courtroom with a ton of people back here with someone sitting in a black robe in front of them asking them a ton of questions. So we try and get them ready for it. If they're in need of a shelter, we get them into a shelter. If they need assistance with their local law enforcement, maybe they've got a case going on, we help them with that. We'll put in calls to their local law enforcement, get that going. If they need assistance once they're moving past the restraining order stage, so now we're talking about custody of children or a divorce, most courthouses now have resource centers that are there and able to assist these victims in filing for their divorces or their custody actions or their child support actions or other actions. Pasadena is one of the lucky ones that does have the resource center in there, so we can assist them with the restraining order and get them up before the judge, get that taken care of, and then send them upstairs to the resource center where they can continue to go on with whatever other legal action that they may need. We also help the community. We go out and we train local law enforcement on how to deal with restraining orders. We go out to the hospitals and talk with the social workers in the ER and make sure that they know that we're there, so if they do get these victims, that they let them know that there's a place for them to come. We do community events. We do talk to community workers. We make sure that everyone knows there is a place for these people to come into the courthouse when they're in need of the restraining order. Because of all that we do, we are always in need of volunteers. So we ask anybody who's willing and able to come in and volunteer, especially those that may have some sort of legal background, to contact us. I gave each and every one of you one of our brochures, and I'll leave some back there. But our website, which is the easiest way to look for and find our contact, is www.lacba.org/DVP for Domestic Violence Project. If you go online, you'll find information on the project and how you can volunteer for the project. If you find that you can't volunteer, we are always in need of sponsors and donors. Things as simple as being able to donate Kleenex boxes. Imagine how many boxes of Kleenex we go through every year when we have women and children in our office in an emotional state, so to speak. We need office supplies. We need toys for children, juice boxes for children. Children come into the courthouse at 8:30 in the morning, and sometimes they're still there at 4:30 in the afternoon. Some of the courthouses have child waiting centers, but these are children that must be potty trained to go there. So many children are stuck in the courtroom with their mother or in the hallway with their mother all day long. So anything that people can think of to bring in or donate to us or call us would be terrific. Again, our website, www.lacba.org/DVP, if you're interested in that. We also have a short video that tells you a little bit more about the program, and once you watch that, I'd be happy to answer questions.
I was involved in a domestic violence with the father of my child. We got in an argument. He felt like I disrespected him in front of a friend of his, and he hit me. He wouldn't hit me anymore on my body because I would get bruised. He would hit me in my head with his fists.
I was molested by my dad since it started at 10 years old. I mean, he always used to tell me, don't never tell your mom this. So, that's my dad, so I was scared what my daddy was going to do to me.
I went to the house like normal protocol where I was just going to pick up my son on my weekend. As I was walking to the car, she attacked me from behind, and I was just trying to cover him and try to get him in the car. After that altercation, I decided to protect me and my son and go forward with legal matters.
There is no typical case of domestic violence. There are cases in which there is great physical violence, in which there's sexual violence, verbal abuse, substance abuse, and child abuse.
The mission of the Domestic Violence Project is to provide fast and professional legal services for a victim of domestic violence.
They're sent here by the police. They're sent here by friends. Some of them are sent by their schools. They're told, go get a restraining order. Let's keep this person away from you.
We have one location at Central, which is at First and Hill. We have another in the Pasadena courthouse.
The courts are here to help them. And, we will do everything that we can to help them, to make sure that they leave here with what they came for.
When someone first comes into the clinic, there'll be a staff member who will do an initial screening, and we'll make sure they're in the right place, that we can help them with their case.
We bring them in, we sit them down with the volunteer at a computer. The volunteer is going to take all their information and type it into the legal forms that are required. The volunteer is also going to take a declaration from them detailing all the abuse that's been going on in their relationship.
We start off with kind of the general background of what's been going on between the client and the abuser. And then we go into the events that happened more recently that caused him or her to come to the clinic.
For someone that is not familiar with domestic violence or the process, the packet itself, if they had to do it on their own, is about 30 pages. It's in English. A lot of people that we get here don't speak English. So even if they were handed the packet, they have no idea how to fill it out.
There are requirements under the law, as there should be, that a person asking for one of these orders needs to meet a fairly high evidentiary burden. It is very, very difficult and overwhelming for many self-represented litigants to figure out how to do that. The project is a place where they can come, tell their stories to folks who know how to reduce that information down to a manner that we can use it, and then those stories can be presented so that we can make the appropriate decisions.
It feels like an emergency room at a hospital, except for what we're providing instead of sutures and bandages is we're providing legal services for those who are really harmed, injured, or disoriented and confused. And they're overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed by the entire procedure.
It's felt a lot better knowing that somebody was there to help me, even if it was just to listen.
Not only do we help the victim prepare paperwork to receive a temporary restraining order, we go to law enforcement, retrain them about restraining orders. We provide training seminars. We train attorneys about domestic violence. We provide outreach to emergency rooms. So it's just not the legal services that are provided. It is that, and as well as the entire community that surrounds all of us.
The biggest service that these incredible people provide is giving a voice to people who are victims. And without their assistance, many of the orders which end up granted would not even come before us.
People can come in, they don't know what they're going to do, they've got a place to go. We're here to help them. We make sure that when they leave here they feel better.
If they weren't there to help me and I wasn't able to get the paperwork done, I'm pretty confident that he would be around trying to harass me or hurt my daughter. You know, I do feel strongly that I wouldn't be able to go to the grocery store without being scared that he's following me.
It helped in the sense where he's not coming around by my house anymore right now because I guess he have the paperwork. So, you know, that's a big, relief for me and my children.
It's hard for a woman to step up and say, that's it. You know, this isn't going to happen to me no more. To take action, and I think support should be there on the other end.
We're teaching the victim how to help his or herself. We're helping the victim's children. We're helping the landlord who perhaps isn't getting paid rent because there's domestic violence. We're helping the employer of the victim. We're helping everyone when we help others.
So without this program, there's a lot of people out there and live in fear or just, you know, take the lumps and take the beatings that they shouldn't be taking. So the program is very important for people that are not aware of their rights. And I wish that everybody would know that they do have a right to go and they do have a system set up for somebody that can't afford an attorney and just get protection, basically. You know, every taxpayer deserves that.
I did want to say that each and every victim you saw on there was an actual victim that our project helped in just this last year while that video was. So we thank them tremendously for actually coming on camera to talk about their story and to talk about their experience. And that's it this evening, unless anyone has any questions.
Well, I would, before, yeah, Commissioner Pillsbury, please, go ahead.
I just wondered how people find out about you and how they come to you and how we can get the word out.
Well, this is one way people find out about us. The majority, well, I don't want to say the majority, a good percentage of our victims are referred to us by local law enforcement. Law enforcement knows that there are clinics in the courthouse that will help these victims out and will walk them through the procedure. So many of my victims say, oh, the police officer sent me here, told me to come get the restraining order. We also have a lot of victims that come by their friends. Their friends have actually been to us, find a friend in a situation and tell them, get down to the courthouse. There's people there that are going to help you out. The rest of it truly is word of mouth, us getting out there, making sure that people know that there's someone there to help them, that it's not... The courts are very good, too, about letting people know when they come in and they get these packets, because, you get that packet in your hand. If no one's there to tell you, go down the hall, someone's going to help you fill it out, they're going to walk right out, because it's impossible to fill those out without any kind of experience. So basically, it's this word of mouth.
So is this a walk-in service? Anybody can just walk in anytime? Or?
Anybody. Good point. Since we're in the courthouse, we are only open during normal court hours. In Pasadena, in downtown Los Angeles, we are open all day, every day during normal court hours, which are normally 8:30 to 12 and then 1:30 to 4:30. Pasadena, because of our budget, we are a nonprofit. We are only there during the morning hours, so we're only there until about 1 o'clock. It is first come, first serve. The earlier you get there, the better. You will be waiting. You not only wait for us, you also wait for a judge. You also wait for the clerks. You also wait for your paperwork to be processed. If you get there early, you will be seen that day, but you may have to wait.
I notice on your brochures you don't have a phone number for the Pasadena office. Do you know that offhand?
We don't have a phone number that we can assist victims over the phone. Because we provide legal services, we cannot assist victims over the phone.
So
we do have hotline where they can call up and get information, yes, and it kind of explains everything to them. That number is 213-624-3665. There's also a number that people can call up for more information. That number is 213-896-6479. Again, 213-896-6479. What do we always tell the victims? These numbers are great if you're calling up to get information on the project, but if you're a victim, you got to come in. Don't wait to leave a phone number for someone, a message on a phone number, wait to get a call back. If you're a victim, come on into the courthouse. If you live here in Glendale, Burbank, your closest courthouse would be us in Pasadena to assist you. Come on in. 8:30 in the morning, courthouse opens. Come on in, room 100 there. You can ask anybody in the building where the domestic violence clinic is. They'll point you in the right direction.
Okay, great. Commissioner Vice Chair?
Okay. Sarah, are the other organizations that work on domestic violence aware of your program, such as the YWCA or other?
Yes, most, and I shouldn't say everyone because there's always new ones, the ones we don't know. Most programs do know that we are in the courthouse there. Most of the local shelters refer their victims in to us, or actually will have one of their shelter workers come in with a victim for us to do the paperwork for them. So yes, most organizations know that we are there in the courthouse.
Mr. Sobey?
Sarah, how did you become personally involved in this project?
Not in any way that you would expect. I was actually a paralegal working 12-hour days and about to have my first child and thought, I can't do this, and I kind of looked for another job. Actually found the ad, thought, oh, this sounds interesting. I started, and people always find this ironic, but I started the week before the O.J. Simpson Nicole Brown Simpson situation happened in '94. So I started to get trained, and I thought, gosh, I really love, this. You're working with people and you're doing legal forms, what I'm used to. And a week later, it literally exploded in there. Mm-hmm. And we went from seeing...
because of the publicity of the case?
Because of the publicity. Mm-hmm. We went from seeing just a few people a day to all of a sudden we had the Today Show come out. And, we were... As I think every other domestic violence organization, I'm just going to say here in Los Angeles, but I'm sure it was nationwide, if not worldwide, so unprepared It was just astounding. We went from helping a few people a day to just, running out to get people to help volunteer. You'd get there at 8 o'clock in the morning and the line would be formed, and you started hearing all these stories. And it was just amazing that tragedy was able to open up for so many other people and let them know that there was these organizations out there. And yeah, I went from working part-time to full-time literally within a matter of 3 months, and we had to hire more people and recruit volunteers, and it was pretty amazing. So I've been doing this for 15 years, and I can honestly say I still love it. I still love what I do every day.
And any other comments, Commissioner Pillsbury?
There's been a lot of publicity about the budget cuts to the domestic violence programs. How is that affecting you, and what can our viewers do to turn that around?
Well, one thing about the project is that we are not federally funded in any way. So we are, although things have changed, and I'm not real familiar with all the changes, I do know that at some point, there were certain people you couldn't help. There was income guidelines. There was immigration guidelines, which Heather's going to talk a little bit about that. Because we don't take any federal funding, we don't care who you are, what you are, or anything. You come into us, we're going to help you. We don't care what your income is. We don't care what your immigration status is. We will help you. So our funding hasn't been cut in that way. But since we are a nonprofit, we completely rely on grants, and those have been cut. We do have, we're expecting an even larger cut in funding this next year. We've made it through this year. We anticipate making it through next year. We haven't heard anything to the contrary. But yes, that's why we are always looking for, you all got Domestic Violence Angels. I gave you each one of the pins. That will help us out in any way, shape, or form with funding. It's the most important thing. I do want people to know that we only have 3 staff members. We don't have a huge budget as far as staff goes. Our budget really is our needs. As I said before, something as simple as Kleenex. I can't even imagine what our costs are every year in just Kleenex and paper to be able to print out those forms and all that. That's where the majority of our money goes. So yes, we're always looking for donors or organizations that are willing to help us, to sponsor us, to fund us in any way.
So I'm going to ask the obvious. You have seen the trend is going towards more domestic violence these days, from what we see on the news every day. And
right. I can't speak to exactly, is that the reason? Can I tell you that, yes, we are busier? Absolutely. What the reason is, we can all assume that it has to do with the economy. I believe that it does. We are busy. I guarantee that we are going to go over the 7,000 people that we saw last year. We will surpass that mark this year. We have been extraordinarily busy these last few months, and people do tell us they're at home, their partner, significant other is at home, they're out of work, the stress level is high, things are happening.
Vice Chair Manasarian.
Sarah, and if you want to explain to the member of our audience, if they want to donate funds or donate supplies, how should they go about it? So, if they're interested.
If they're interested, 2 ways. Again, I will say we're a nonprofit, a 501c3 corporation, so any donation, check with your tax advisors, but it should be well within all the legal requirements. Two ways to reach me. First way is through our website, gives you all that information. Again, www.lacba.org/DVP for Domestic Violence Project. Or you can go to the Los Angeles County Bar Association website, and they'll give you a direct link off of there. Or the phone number, again, 213-896-6479. And we'd appreciate any help we could get.
I'd like to make one final comment, and I so appreciate the fact that you had men in this video, because a lot of times Vice Chair Manasarian and I have done interviews and TV programs where community members call in, and we are always asked, well, what are you doing about men? And what about men that are victims? And so now we're saying to everybody out there that's listening that you do this. The same service applies to men. This happens to men. It's not only a woman's problem. It's both, and that's. I was so glad to see that in your video.
Absolutely, and yes, people ask me the same question. Well, do you help men? Do you get a lot of men? We don't get as many men as women, but boy, we sure do get men. Absolutely, they get the same service, the same assistance as anybody else that walks in there.
Great, thank you, Commissioner Lamel.
I want to thank you for being here and sharing this information. I want to find out about the video. Is that something that you could lend so that other organizations can show that to a group of people?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
By emailing you?
Absolutely, and I think you've got my card there. I think Christine was able to give it.
I know you're looking for volunteers, and it says here that attorneys and law students have to commit to 6 hours per month for 6 months. What about a non-legal expert?
It's the same for a non-legal expert. And we say 6 hours per month for 6 months because we'd really like to get a commitment out of everyone. It takes time to train. You're going to attend one of our trainings. If you're an attorney, you'll get the CLE credit, or paralegals. They all need CLE credit. You will get the CLE credit. But it takes time. Even after you attend that 3-hour training, you're still coming into the courthouse. So we spend time with you to train you and all that. So we hope that you would stay with us for 6 months. Some people can't do the 6 hours a month, so they ask, hey, can I do 3 hours a month for a year? Absolutely. We have volunteers that have been with us longer than I have. We have volunteers that have been with us 15, 20 years. They're never going to give it up. They come. I have one gentleman that comes in twice a week since before I was there, so probably 20 years. He comes in 2 mornings a week, and he loves it. He's a retired attorney, and he couldn't imagine doing anything else. So, yes, if you want to come in and volunteer, we'll make it work.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I am going to give it over to Heather Poole. Heather has been a volunteer with us for, I want to say 8 or 9 years now. She comes in 2 hours a month, even though she has a very busy immigration practice, which deals with victims of domestic violence as part of her specialty. So I'm going to let her talk a little bit about it.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I am a private immigration attorney, so to clear things up right away, you can trust me, whoever's listening out there. I don't work for immigration. I don't work for INS. I am the exact opposite. I try to help people stay in the United States legally. And a lot of the men and women that I represent are in domestic violence situations. And the reason that they don't go to Sarah's project to get a restraining order is because all they've heard from their abusive spouse, whether he's here legally or not, maybe he's a U.S. citizen himself, he'll say to her, well, you call the police, you go into a courtroom, you go into a courthouse, they're going to arrest you on the spot because you're not legally here. You don't have rights here. You call the police, they're going to not believe you because I'm the U.S. citizen. You have no legal rights in this country because you don't have a green card. So that's the common story I hear, and a lot of these women and men, the Violence Against Women Act that we're going to be talking about applies to both men and women, so I'm glad that you brought that up. They come to me, and it's almost too good to be true what I tell them, that they actually might have options under federal immigration law to get their green cards, to get their permanent residency or citizenship without the sponsorship or without the help of an abusive spouse. And it usually takes some cajoling and some emphasis and many talks later for them to actually believe that this is too good to be true. And some women are so scared that they actually wait until they actually have the green card in their hand before they leave an abusive situation. And that's one thing that immigration has got right. They say that if you can show that you've been in a domestic violence situation and you've lived with your abusive spouse, if he himself is a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident, you can get your green card or your permanent residence, which allows you to stay in the United States the rest of your life, as long as you don't commit any terrible violent crimes. Then they'll allow you to get your green card without him even knowing about it. It's a completely confidential procedure that's available to men and women under the Violence Against Women Act, which is a federal law that was enacted back in 1994. It's been amended a couple times to hopefully get through some of the loopholes that we're finding that survivors were falling through and not being helped by. So it doesn't matter if she came here across the border illegally, if he snuck in or used fake papers. There are usually ways around that now if they can prove the violence. Immigration has even supported this law, that they've created a special unit within immigration itself called the Violence Against Women Act unit. And it's pretty difficult because it's 17 officers for 15,000 cases a year. They get to decide all those. And they're the only officers within immigration that are actually trained on domestic violence. So they are more sympathetic and understanding when she can tell them, look, I'm in a controlling environment. I don't have access to joint bank accounts or joint leases or the documents that someone who's in a happy marriage probably could get access to. And if she can explain a lot of it away, but if she has some documentation, they're going to tend to believe her because they've been trained in domestic violence. And because of this special unit, and if she can prove all on paper, no appearance before a judge, she'll have to eventually interview for her green card, but since it's confidential, her husband won't know about it. She'll be able to take back her immigration destiny for herself. She gets to control what happens to her green card now, what happens to her family, her destiny. Okay? Usually the way, unfortunately, the immigration system was set up is when you're married to someone who's a U.S. citizen, they have to sponsor you for permanent residency. It's not automatic. Just because you're married to a U.S. citizen doesn't necessarily mean you're legal here. So that was the problem that Congress was noticing, that many of these abusive U.S. citizen spouses were saying, well, we're just not going to file anything for these women because if we file something and she becomes legal, I no longer have any control over her. Because she's staying with me because I have that control. I have the immigration control. So Congress wanted to create a remedy under the Violence Against Women Act to allow them to take that power away from him. And you'll find a lot with battered immigrants. They could be in the most horrendous situations where they are raped repeatedly by a husband every single day, or their families are being threatened in their home countries if they say anything to the police. And they'll stay in horrendous circumstances that even a normal domestic violence victim who is a natural-born U.S. citizen cannot understand or handle. They are being threatened with deportation to a country usually where they're facing going back to a place where there's no police protection whatsoever, or the police are corrupt themselves, or they're going to go back and they've probably fled, a lot of them, from domestic violence relationships in those home countries. So they are more likely to believe the abuser more than ever than anyone who's not in one of these immigrant U.S. citizen spouse relationships. So that's where I come in. I try to help them get their green cards based on the Violence Against Women Act, and so he doesn't know what she's doing. Even immigration, because it's confidential, Congress says you can't inform him. He calls you up at the 1-800 number for immigration and says, I want to know if my wife has filed something. I want to know if she's filed under VAWA. They can't tell her anything. Okay? Criminal and civil liabilities. It's for her own protection. Because Congress realized immigrant women are very scared. No one's going to come forward even for this great protection if they think there's any way he's going to find out about it. So it's completely one-sided, completely confidential. So what I suggest, and the reason that I come here tonight, is not only to support all the great work that Sarah's project does, and I've actually seen a lot of survivors myself who even send me Christmas cards from her project still years later because their lives are completely turned around, is to also get the word out there about the Violence Against Women Act and how it can protect immigrant survivors of abuse, both men and women. And I know we say men and women very casually and generally, but in my own practice, I'm a private attorney, about 50% of my green cards based on spousal abuse are for men. And you may think, well, these are pretty wimpy men. That's usually the suggestion or the comment I get when I talk to other men who are not in this situation. And I said, no, women can get very violent, yes, but they can also get very crazy and very manipulative. And a lot of the times, men are abused because their children are being held against them. They're not giving access to visitation. They're taking the children out of the country. They're threatening their parents. So domestic violence can happen, not only physical, but emotional, and they can use the children just like they would in a female, where the female is the survivor. It can very much happen to men, and it does. And immigration luckily recognizes that. So the only other situation that we would likely see with both me and Sarah at the project is someone who comes in and says, well, I'm a victim of date rape. I don't know who my perpetrator is. Well, obviously what I've just totally talked about can't apply to her because she's not married to a U.S. citizen or permanent resident that we know about. So in her particular circumstances, I would suggest that, this might be a reason for you to actually report this to the police, what's happened to you. You might qualify for what's called the U visa victim, for victims of crime. The U visa was created back in 2001 and has finally been released 8 years later by immigration. And what it allows, it gives her 4 years legal status and allows her to get her work permit, which, as we know with domestic violence, when someone is empowered economically, it allows them to take themselves and their children out of the situation. And the U visa, the beautiful thing about that visa, is it can be for you, doesn't matter who the perpetrator is. So if you're married to somebody who's undocumented, you can still get the U visa. If you don't know who your perpetrator is because you're a victim of date rape, you can still get the U visa. And it gives women protection, and it encourages them to come forward and work with the local police. And luckily in our area here, both Glendale Police Department and Pasadena Police Department have been very receptive to understanding for cases where women have come forward. They've cooperated with the prosecution of these crimes or with investigations for signing off on these types of cases to help them to get legal status. And the beautiful thing about a U visa, since there's no marriage involved or anything like that, after 4 years, they can also apply for permanent residency. So there's a lot of different protections now under the Violence Against Women Act. And the main reason I come out here is because nobody knows about them. So I'm hoping that we can, through these wonderful TV streaming and through the resources that each of you have, that we can get the word out there. So survivors don't feel so pigeonholed and all they see and what they hear is their abuser and nothing else. And they can understand that some options are available. And one other thing I should let each of you know, and everyone who's watching now, is that be very careful who you talk to about your immigration case. Especially in immigrant communities, we're having a problem. In downtown Los Angeles, they've even created a task force with the DA's office going after small shops called notarios or paralegal shops. It is illegal for a paralegal to practice law without the direct supervision of an attorney. And someone in Latin America or in South America who calls themselves notario, that means lawyer. And here in the United States, that means notary public. But they don't clear that misconception up, right? They just hang a big banner that says notario. And usually nothing's in writing. Everything has to be paid in cash. Okay, so I tell people, make sure this person is an attorney. First of all, you can go on the California bar site and look. You can just do a name search, really easy. And that site is calbar.org. calbar.org, just to double check that this person you're actually dealing with is an attorney. Okay, and you can also see on that site, they'll even tell you if they've been disciplined or suspended before, and then that should also give you some idea of whether you want to do business with them. But even if you're only paying $250 for a service, you get everything you do with that person in writing. That is your only recourse, and that's what I really strongly suggest. I've seen many people been screwed over or nothing's been filed or the wrong thing's been filed and they've been exposed to immigration and they really have no legal recourse at that point. Half of the people who come to me I can't help because of that. They've so screwed up their cases going to somebody who's not an attorney. Now, I can't say that attorneys don't have our reputation for a reason. So also be very careful when dealing with attorneys, okay? Immigration attorneys are great people normally, but you also, keep your street smarts. You can go to more than one. You can get a second opinion. And that's one thing immigrants also don't realize is that you're not obliged to hire the first person that you have an opinion. Okay? You do not have to hire that person. And of course, everything they're going to do is going to be in writing. Okay? And most of the attorneys who are immigration attorneys in Los Angeles offer free consultations. So there's no reason not to keep going until you trust the person who's going to be taking on your future. So I appreciate your time tonight, and very much wanted to promote Sarah's project as well. I've been with LACBA for 8 or 9 years now, and I volunteer twice a month. Find the time. I'm lucky I'm a solo practitioner. I can move my schedule around. But it's the most wonderful, satisfying project for somebody who really wanted instant results. And with immigration, our cases sometimes can take years and can be very frustrating. And the great thing about domestic violence for those who want to get involved in the legal field is that you can get someone an immediate relief. You can get them a temporary restraining order usually the same day that they come in for it. Not only makes them feel great and protected, but it also makes you feel like you're really making an instant difference. So I definitely recommend volunteers. Any questions of all that information?
Thank you, Heather. That was excellent. A lot of new information for me, I know. Commissioners, do you have any comments, questions? No? I have, I just got the State Commission priority bills that are on the governor's desk, and one of them is AB 988. Are you familiar with that one?
A little, yes.
Where it requires the Commission on Peace Officers Standards and Training to provide human trafficking training on the U visa.
Yes.
And as authorized by Federal Victims of Trafficking and Violence Protection Act of 2000. It's funny that you're here because I read this and I thought, well, I don't know what a U visa is. I thought, well, maybe it's a misprint, but now I understand it. So this is awaiting, correct?
The U visa is actually being issued now.
The assembly bill, but this assembly bill that...
That, I think, is just to get the police to cooperate to enforce it. But right now, the U visa is available. But what we're having to do is go police department to police department to different officers each time. And so it's very hard for us, depending on which officer we get. There really isn't a systematic, we'll do it, we won't do it. These are the criteria that we want. So, but yes, the visa itself is available to be issued at this point.
My next question to you is, are you available Friday night to speak at the YW Candlelight Vigil? Because I think she would be an excellent speaker, both of them, for that. We have the commission partners with the YW for this Candlelight Vigil on domestic violence, and I'm sure that a lot of women would be interested in the information that you have.
Great. I'll do what I can. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for your presentation.
You're welcome. Oh, one other thing, if you don't mind, if you want any more information on the Violence Against Women Act and immigrants' rights, my website is very extensive, has a lot of questions and answers on it, and that site is www.humanrightsattorney.com. It's all spelled out. Okay? Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And next item on the agenda.
At 3, we have oral comment. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Time is limited to an amount to be set by the chair. The commission may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or discussion. Staff may refer the matter to the proper department for investigation and report.
Okay, I have one card from Valerie Merritt from the YWCA to speak on the Candlelight Vigil that I just mentioned. Shall we give 5 minutes? Thank you.
I'm Valerie Merritt. I am the president of the board of the YWCA here in Glendale. And if you don't mind my taking just a moment to comment on some of the prior presentations, because the YWCA of Glendale does actually have its own program for giving free screenings to women who are over the age of 40 for mammograms and cervical cancer in the event that they don't have health insurance and are unable to pay. So this is something that we provide as well to the community. And also, as I think most of you on the commission know, we have a domestic violence program. What you may not know, having just listened to these presentations on legal rights, is we have a lawyer on staff who actually does provide information and assistance in getting those restraining orders and in dealing with the immigration issues. So it's something that we do directly for the people who come to us for our assistance in our domestic violence program. Moving on to what brought me here, which is we have an annual candlelight vigil for victims of domestic violence. We are happy to have that in cooperation with the Commission, and I'm here just to remind everybody that it is coming up this Friday. It starts at 5 o'clock. It's at the YWCA building. For those who don't know, the address is 735 East Lexington Drive here in Glendale. It's across the street from the Whole Foods Market, which is a bigger landmark than we are. At 5 o'clock, we will start in our ballroom with presentations by various persons. We have two survivors of domestic violence who are scheduled to speak who came through our program. In addition, we have a presentation by Mona Marcos, who is fairly well known in the community and is also a survivor of domestic violence. There will be a presentation from an officer with the Glendale Police Department, whom, by the way, we commend for their excellent cooperation in dealing with issues of domestic violence. They've been very good. And then after the presentations, we will be going out of the building to the sidewalk, out of doors, and holding up our candles, and hopefully we will have a big group there to show how important it is that people support those who are victims of domestic violence, and also those organizations like our organization that are helping those victims. That's all I wanted to say. If you have any questions, let me happy to answer them.
Mr. Pillsbury?
I just wondered if you have a flyer that, so we could email other organizations that we are members of and active in.
I don't have a flyer with me. I can, I believe that one has been sent out. There's also an ad going in the Glendale News Press that will have
the details.
The details.
Great. When's that going to run?
I wish I knew.
Hopefully this week.
It will definitely be this week.
Right.
Any
other commissioners' comments?
Thank you.
I know that the Candlelight Vigil, we honor the survivors and we remember those that we have lost, and it's always quite moving, and I hope that a lot of the community will attend. Thank you. Thank you, Val.
Thank you.
Next item.
4A, we have approval of the minutes of the regular commission meeting held on September 14, 2009.
Are there any corrections to the minutes? If we have no corrections, then we have unanimous consensus for approval of these minutes as they stand. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. Next item, please.
At 5A1, we have the Commission on the Status of Women's Master Calendar of Events 2009. And there's a motion providing direction regarding the Commission on the Status of Women's Master Calendar.
Any comments on the calendar or questions or? I just want to announce to the audience that on our calendar we have October 20th is World Osteoporosis Day, and this year the theme is Stand Tall, Speak Out for Your Bones. And in a call, it is a call to advocate for public health policies that provide better bone health. The National Osteoporosis Foundation is going to try to bring together patients and health professionals from all over the country to meet with members of Congress on that day to raise awareness of the physical impact and the economic impact of this of osteoporosis and the impact that it has on our nation. There are billions of dollars spent in the healthcare industry for patients, people that have fallen because of osteoporosis, need medical treatment and therapy. And so it's very important to take care of your bones, and that's one of the reasons why the National Commission on the Status of Women focuses on osteoporosis, and this commission has done 2 awareness seminars on it. So please watch for October 20th and the news and see if anything happens in Washington. Any other comments? Commissioner Pillsbury?
I just had a question. I know that this year has been a priority on women's health, and so we've had lots of terrific presentations, and that 2010 is the year of the volunteer, and so I was wondering why the headings on the months were still at least half health headings. Heart Health Month, scleroderma awareness, healthy aging, sun safety, whether we were going to be shifting to volunteerism. And
we will be shifting to volunteerism, and as we together pick out nonprofit organizations from the community that we do want to help out, they will be added to that. I just kept them on because I just think it would be nice for everyone to know and not forget about women's health as well.
Anyone else have a comment? Don't forget that on October 30th, Senator Carol Liu's Women's Health Conference is at the Castaways. That is also on our calendar. For those of you out there, there are like about 20 workshops. They are all free. You can go on her website, www.cluwomenhealth.org. You can register for the workshops. They are free from 8:30 to, I believe it's around 11:30. Take advantage. They are expecting a great crowd. It's going to be a wonderful conference. So I encourage everybody on the 30th to do that, the audience.
I would like to point out if the commission would like to remove the health months, we can definitely do that.
How does the commission feel, Commissioner?
I personally like knowing about the health issues and
Yes.
health months.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to acknowledge that.
And we can enlarge the discussion to include what volunteer
Yeah, we can add those
activities we want to support and highlight.
Right. Okay. All right. Do we have then unanimous consensus of the calendar then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Next item.
At 2, there's a consideration and discussion of student ex officio search committee appointments for 2009-2010. At A, we have a motion appointing members to the student screening and selection committee.
We have a report for us, Mr. Boomy.
Chair Devine, members of the Commission, in April 2004, pursuant to the Glendale Municipal Code Section 2.38.030, the Commission adopted a resolution which established the qualifications, term, procedures, standards, and rules for the appointment of the 2 student ex officio members. Staff respectfully recommends that the Commission establish the 2009-10 Screening and Selection Committee for the student ex officio search. The Commission may appoint 2 commissioners to serve on the committee, and the committee has, by precedent, screened and selected these commissioners. Current student commissioners have also served on this committee to provide their input as well in the past. And packets of these submissions will be prepared and distributed to the committee for review and screening by October 23rd, 2009. It is anticipated that no more than 1 meeting of the committee would be needed to come to consensus after the interviews of the applicants, and the new student ex officios would be appointed to the positions at the November 2009 meeting.
Do we have any commissioner comments?
I would like to volunteer for one of those positions.
Commissioner Sobey. Any other comments? I have one comment. We are going through a reorganization with City Council, and I'd like to suggest that we hold this matter until 5 commissioners are appointed, and hopefully that will be done by next month, and then it can be discussed at that time by the commissioners that are on board. Do I have any discussion?
I have a question.
Commissioner?
When do we need to decide on the ex officios? When is the timing?
Madam Vice Chair, I don't believe that you have a deadline by which you have to make that determination.
So we could wait until the next meeting. Thank you.
Okay, then. Do I need a motion for that?
Unless there's some objection to the continuance, then no.
Okay. Then do I have a consensus on that continuation?
Yes.
Thank you. Next item, please.
At 3, we have consideration and discussion of the date and location of the 6th annual Jewels of Glendale fundraising event. And at A, there is a motion providing direction regarding the date and location of the 6th annual Jewels of Glendale fundraising event.
Can you give us a report on that, Ms. Babumian,
Certainly.
please?
Chair Devine, members of the Commission, pursuant to the standing direction from the Commission on the Status of Women, planning for the 6th annual Jewels of Glendale is underway. The Jewels of Glendale is the major fundraising event of the Commission, and it is held in March in order to honor Women's History Month and to bring attention to the accomplishments of the women in the city of Glendale. The event is tentatively scheduled to be held on Thursday, March 18, 2010, at the Glendale Hilton Hotel's ballroom. In comparing several different venues for the event, the Hilton was able to provide the most competitive rates while still meeting the needs of the Commission and the event. It is important to secure a date and location at this time to ensure that the Commission can carry out the event as it has in preceding years. The task lead and planning committee will be selected at an upcoming Commission meeting. And nominations for the 2010 Jewel of Glendale Award will be accepted starting in November. Any interested parties can nominate up to 2 women for consideration of the award.
Thank you. Very good. Any discussion? I'll open it to the Commission on this item. No discussion?
I was just wondering, since we're going through reorganization, should we be involved in any of this until appointees are in place?
The only issue involved right here, and that's a good suggestion, and we can discuss that, is that as we wait any longer, the choices diminish and our bargaining power diminishes as well. I don't know that we are not naming an event chair, any of the particulars. All we're doing right now is securing a site. Now, when it's appropriate, and we just got a really good spec deal from the Hilton, and we're just kind of trying to be helpful to the next Commission.
So is a deposit needed?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, go for it.
Go
There's
forward.
no fiscal.
There's no fiscal impact. No, I certainly do that.
Ms. Babumian, do you have anything to add to that question? Or
Not at this time. No. I'm looking over the contract.
all right. She has contract in hand.
Oh, that's
And they're just waiting for this commission to decide if we think this is a good idea.
Can we talk about the amount or what they
Well, would rather not at this time. Let's let the chair and the committee.
Oh.
It's trust us. We did all the research. Ms. Babumian went to and called and talked to all of the local facilities, and this was the best.
So we're
Ms. Babumian?
just agreeing to a date and a place.
Can I
Yes.
just ask a question? Has the Hilton resolved their labor problems?
I believe it's done, yes?
Been done for a while.
Yes, I think about a year.
Just wanted to make sure.
Wording.
So we won't,
No.
right. We don't want to offend anybody. Right. So do I have a motion to accept this proposal that we choose March 18th as the day of our luncheon, and it will be held at the Hilton?
Just one question.
Okay, Commissioner Lamel?
While we may lock this in, if the incoming commission decides they don't want to that date or that place, would they have the option to make a change?
I think, if I may, I think you're looking at the terms of the agreement. If the agreement allows you to do that, then yes. If the agreement does not allow you to do that, and I haven't looked at the agreement before, then you would probably incur some kind of a penalty for changing your mind. As far as the Commission's decision goes, you can at some future meeting rescind the decision. But whether or not that will incur any sort of a financial obligation because you've signed an agreement, we'd have to look at the agreement more closely to let you know that.
I'm just asking because just to have some options open.
Ms. Babumian?
I apologize for not noting this earlier. There is a $500 deposit due with the signed contract, and sorry I didn't mention that earlier.
okay.
And looking through it, I just
Noticed.
found that in the fine print.
It's fine print, okay.
So that is something to take into consideration in making this decision.
Okay. How do the other commissioners feel about locking in the Hilton at this time?
It seems that if this is an event that the Commission has sponsored for the last 5 years, and it's something the Commission continues to want to do, we should take advantage of a local place with a good rate on a good date, because it is hard to lock it in. And I think the $500, since we have the money, and I assume would be applied to the expense of the event, is a reasonable amount to incur.
May I?
Sure, Vice Chair.
I feel the same way. I think that, as Commissioner Lamel said, I think the cost would be maybe the $500 deposit in case they decide not to, but it's worth taking the risk and really locking in the date and the location. So I tend to agree with that.
Yeah, and I really think that no matter what the composition of the commission is, that the luncheon will go on.
Oh, yes.
And this would be a good choice. We have Yasmin Beers to say a few words.
Commissioner Devine, members of the Commission on the Status of Women, Yasmin Beers, Deputy City Manager. And to your point, Commissioner Devine, no matter what the makeup of this commission is, as staff, we really want to make sure that we have a venue that is in place, and the commissioners can then rely upon staff to do some of the legwork, to have a venue that's centrally located within the city of Glendale, that's well known by many people within the community, and to have it there is just kind of a coup for us to have it on the right date with the right amount of money. So whether it's this commission that's sitting here or a different commission within the next month or two, as staff, we propose that you move forward with this so that we can do the work, the necessary legwork necessary for the successful event that you want to have, that you've had for 5 years, the Jewels of Glendale, and have it for another year. So we would propose approval of this.
Thank you. Thank you.
I definitely think it's a good idea to move forward.
Then do I have a motion that we accept this March 18th date at the Hilton?
I move that we accept the date and the venue that is established.
Do I have a second? Commissioner Sobey seconds. Do we have unanimous consensus?
Yes.
Very good. Next item, please. Thank you.
At 4, we have an update and discussion of 2009 Rosie Goes to Wall Street Day Camp, also known as Camp Rosie. And at A, there's a motion appointing 2 members to the Camp Rosie Committee.
A report, please.
Yes. Chair Devine, members of the Commission, Camp Rosie, which has been implemented by the Commission on the Status of Women in the City of Glendale for the past 3 years, was developed for young women and girls in order to empower them to make personal, educational, financial, and career choices from an expanded set of possibilities so they can achieve self-sufficiency, career satisfaction, and long-term financial security. Throughout both sessions of Camp Rosie, the girls focused on self-development and enrichment and learned the essential skills for success and financial literacy. This year, Camp Rosie was held in 2 3-week sessions. The first session was dedicated solely to girls from the Glendale Youth Alliance program here at the City of Glendale. It was held from July 6th to July 24th, Monday through Friday, from 1:30 to 5:30 p.m., and that was to accommodate their morning schedules. The second session was open to qualifying girls and young women from the City of Glendale. It was held from August 3rd to August 20th, Monday through Thursday, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. The total cost of the program was $17,653.49. There is a line item detail for the budget included in Exhibit 1 of the report. The total cost of the program was paid for by Community Development Block Grant and in-kind donations. Also in the report, there is a chart that provides information on attendance. In total, we had 44 participants, 36 of which were from low-income families. Our youngest participant was 11 years old, soon to be 12. The oldest participant was 20, and the average age was 15. We also utilized pre- and post-test evaluation tools to analyze 3 key components of Camp Rosie to see before and after effects. We measured self-confidence, financial literacy, awareness, and future outlook. And in all three components, participants did demonstrate improvement. The evaluation demonstrated that the program is effective and will allow for further analysis as to whether the implementation of certain components can be improved. And looking ahead to Camp Rosie 2010, staff respectfully recommends that the Commission appoint 2 Commission members to serve on a committee along with staff to discuss the future format of Camp Rosie. The committee, along with staff, will also continue to refine the evaluation tools to measure the desired outcomes of each activity and continue to fine-tune each session to meet the specific needs of future Camp Rosie participants.
Thank you, Ms. Babumi. You did a great job on this report. Thank you very much. Any comments from the Commission? Open to the floor. Our Camp Rosie. I have to say this was the most diversified group that we've had. It was a fabulously well-made-up group. And I appreciate you giving us in this report the components that you measure, the self-confidence, the financial literacy, and the future outlook. And I also noticed that the projected cost was $50,000, and we came in at 17, so that was a big savings. And that, of course, was because of the hours that were cut in the first session, and we cut down on some of the self-defense, the individual professional fees. Is that the one? Yeah. Correct? Which also cut the cost per student, which was, I think is a good thing as well. And CDBG grant covered everything, which was great. Yeah. Any suggestions about the 2 commissioners to be appointed? Would you like to hold that over until the next meeting when the commission is reorganized, and that way we can
I would recommend
ask.
that too. Yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion to that effect?
I so move that we wait the appointment of 2 commissioners until the next meeting.
I'll second. Commissioner Lamel, we have consensus?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. Next item, please.
At 6, we have commission and staff comments.
Okay, we'll start with Commissioner Kutefian this evening. Any comments? Welcome back. We missed you last month. Yes.
2 months I was absent, and I was not in the, even though I was reading the agendas and everything, but still, when you are not present, actually, you miss a lot. This was a refreshment course.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Lamel?
I'd first like to say I sent out my Get Well Fast to Commissioner Walker, who could not be here. She's been working day and night on collecting items and money for the typhoon victims in the Philippines, her native country. And if anyone is aware of that, it's been all over the news. And if there's anything that you'd like to donate, if it was okay, you can contact the Commission office, and they'll put you in touch with Commissioner Walker. She's doing this through the Filipino American Business Association of Glendale, as well as Hope for Children. The other is, I want to say that the 2 speakers we had today were excellent. I learned a lot of things, even about the self-examination. I never thought about including my collarbone, so that was very good. And also, especially the 2 ladies regarding the domestic violence project, Ms. Rodden and Ms. Poole. I do know that the Pasadena Superior Court is only about 6 miles from here for those who want to volunteer. It's very close. Parking is very accessible, and I certainly hope to be able to devote some time to that, because it's such a worthy and unfortunately horrific situation why we have to have this, but it's really nice that we do have dedicated people.
Vice Chair Manasarian.
Thank you, Chair Devine. I, too, agree with Commissioner Lamel. It was a very informative program. I, too, learned a lot, and I'm very pleased with the presentation. So thank you, ladies, for the 2 organizations that came and made the presentation. I also would like to add that the Women's 20th Century Club of Eagle Rock and Glendale Adventist Medical Center are having an evening of hope. Journeys with Breast Cancer with Cater Lee, Emmy Award-winning news personality. And they're going to be talking about breast cancers, and the survivors are going to be talking about breast cancer survivorship. And it's going to be a great program. It's going to take place on Monday, October 19th, 2009, from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at Women's 20th Century Club of Eagle Rock at 5105 Hermosa Avenue, corner of Colorado and Hermosa Avenue in Eagle Rock. And it's free. However, you need to call 818-409-8100 to register. And I encourage all of you to attend if you can. Thank you.
Mr. Pillsbury?
I would also agree that they were amazing presentations on domestic violence and on breast cancer awareness. And it's a wake-up call for all of us to do the self-examination that maybe we leave to the once-a-year trip to the doctor, but it's time for us all to do that. I also wanted to let you know about an event tomorrow night for Habitat for Humanity, which is an organization that is building houses for people right here in Glendale. Tomorrow night, which is Tuesday, October 13th, from 5 to 9 o'clock, there is a dinner buffet at BJ's Restaurant, which is at the corner of Brand and Broadway. It costs $20, and all of the money goes towards building these houses for people that really need houses. So it's going to be a fun event and a worthwhile cause. So I hope that lots of you will come.
Mr. Sobey.
And I wanted to remind our viewers of Beating Breast Cancer at Glendale Memorial. That's a free lunch and information session. It'll be at noon in the hospital's main auditorium, and I always like to add the caveat that men too can get breast cancer. My brother-in-law's father died of breast cancer, so unfortunately it's an equal opportunity disease.
That is tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow
Yes,
at noon.
tomorrow. Maybe I
At
forgot
noon.
to mention tomorrow at noon. Yes.
Commissioner Merricutt?
I also have to agree with everyone else that I really love the presentations, especially the ones on the domestic violence and immigration. We constantly talk about this in Amnesty International and my club at school. And our focus is also, this year's focus is on women too. So this is completely relevant because we always talk about domestic violence pertaining to Afghanistan and a lot of countries like that where women's rights are not even considered. So this is really cool.
Staff comments?
I would like to thank Jewish Family Services for partnering with the Commission to staff the booth at Unity Fest yesterday. They are based in Los Angeles, but they do serve many, many women and children from Glendale who are victims of domestic violence. So it was a pleasure to serve with them at Unity Fest.
And last but not least, myself. I just want to have a few things to say. On September 17th at Glendale Adventist Medical Center, we had a stroke awareness luncheon. We had over 200 people there. Vice Chair Manasarian was the guest speaker, and she did a wonderful, magnificent job. We were all in tears, and I'm sorry to all of you that missed that. It was excellent. The information was priceless. On October 11th, we partnered with Verdugo Hills Hospital on a men and women's osteoporosis seminar, preventative care. Again, a huge success. A lot of people came, but not only was the information fabulous, but the people that talked to Vice Chair Manasarian and myself about this commission and that they watch and they listen to what we have to say, and the speakers and how much they love to listen in and hear the speakers on health issues. So I'm really proud of the work that we've all done this year, the year of women's health, and in collaborating with all the hospitals in this community. It's been a real pleasure. Relay for Life is this weekend, October 17th. It's not only an important event for the whole community, for cancer survivors, and for those of us that want to find a cure, but this year is a particularly special relay because Glendale has been chosen for the CPS-3, and that's Cancer Prevention Survey, one of many cities in the United States. And what they're asking is for people, men and women, between the ages of 30 and 65 to enroll in a survey. And what will happen is at the relay, they're going to have a tent, and there are oncologists, nurses, and medical staff to take a small bit of your blood, and you'll have to fill out a questionnaire which deals with things like what you eat, how much you exercise, a family history. And what we're trying to do is get as many people there, men, women, to get involved in this survey, because this is the way the American Cancer Society can do research. Tens of thousands of people will be in this study, and hopefully this will help with research and perhaps finding a cure one day. So please, even if you're not involved in Relay, just go to Shoal Canyon on Saturday or Sunday morning and ask where is the CPS-3 tent, and get involved in the survey. And they'll track you for the next few years. I'm not sure how many, but get involved in that way. And it's a terrific event, and I recommend that everyone in the community get involved in that one. Those are all of my comments for tonight. Please join us at the Candlelight Vigil on Friday at the YWCA. It's really important to honor the survivors and to remember those that we've lost. And ladies, don't forget, and gentlemen, women, get your mammograms, please. It's so important. Don't make excuses. Just do it. The best prevention is early detection. And with that, can I have a motion for adjournment?
I shall move.
Second?
Second.
This meeting is adjourned at 8 o'clock. Thank you.